Welcome to ET Catalyse Virtual Episode 4. Today we have with us Deepali Naair from IBM India. Welcome, Deepali.
Thank you, Deepak.
IBM is a 100-plus-year-old company globally, but in India it's been around for more than 50 years. So for us, it's actually India business machines. IBM has a full stack of remote working. It has been the champion of remote working and it has enough innovations around it. So did this event and this lockdown come to you as an opportunity? And if it did, then how did you encash it?
I think much like everybody else, the first phase of COVID, we all were reactive. Let me not call it COVID. My team has actually, coined a very interesting term. They call it the 6 feet economy. 6 feet because 6 feet of social distancing. So they're saying it's new way of working, new way of living, and new way of running businesses. And because we are B2B, new way of running businesses is extremely important to us. So the first phase was clearly reactive. What did IBM do with clients at that point of time? We were actually ensuring that their IT backbone was running. We are part of the essential services, financial services, RBI, SBI, telecom majors in the country and across the globe. We ensured that their IT backbones were running. We had IBMers who had certificates from the government to be actually on the road and be at data centers of clients and be at their offices as part of their business contingency planning. So that's what we did. I have such beautiful hero stories, internally. So my job as a marketer over there was more internal communications first and, external communications later, because we were doing hand holding. Simultaneously, we were also looking at how to pivot. There were two pillars of pivoting. One is, what are the new mechanisms to reach? Okay. And second is content. Do I need to take out content that's not relevant, during this time? And how do I ensure that I put out new content which is relevant for this time? And within content, when I say, there is, of course, the wrapper that you do of the communication bit, which is messaging. But more importantly, how are my offerings and products relevant to my customers? And that's the phase that we are entering today, where we've done the work in the first phase. And when I'm talking to the customer today in terms of messaging, this is the tips and tricks for managing the virtual events, whichever ones that we're doing, big or small, is that I know what is the conversation. We do active social listening. We've actually gone back and spoken to the CIOs. We know what's happening with them. So I'm doing a conversation with them on strategic cost takeout, because that is of huge concern to them. Cash flows are an issue. Therefore, we're talking to them about reinventing supply chain. We're talking to them about automation and AI for optimization, right? We know that remote working...
And you've got solutions around them. So you're basically raising issues of their concern and the solutions that you would have around them.
Absolutely. And because IBM plays across the technology stack, we have solutions to work with them on everything, virtually everything. So we are leaders in the space of security. We are leaders in the space of blockchain today, for example. We have new technologies such as edge computing coming. So that's my conversation with them now. But interestingly now, I even know what is going to be my phase 3 conversation. Phase 3, we know that clients are really looking at new customer experiences, looking at new business models, because everybody wants to protect their business from future shocks, right? Now, that is where my consulting division comes in. And our whole idea is co-creation, looking at innovation with the clients. Because we are a B2B player and we service very large enterprises, this is really the narrative that we are driving in our messaging in the virtual events. We figured that people are today coming to learn, that's important, and we need to do bite-sized information and very quick messaging, that's very important. So our earlier formats where my subject matter expert in a face-to-face event would come and do a 45-minute session, we're going back to him and saying 11 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, how can you do it?
So in the realm of marketing now, digital is upon us and there is no running away from it.
Right.
Everything has moved digital, right from operations to sales, barring the physical delivery. Virtually, even some of your software solutions are being delivered virtually. In the digital space.
Yes.
How does digital marketing thereby change, or does it increase the impetus that you lay on it?
Okay. So I think most B2B players will tell you that digital marketing was anyway becoming a mainstay for them for the last 4 or 5 years. Okay. But if I were to lay it out today and I say, what are the things that I'm looking at? Some of those are softer also. So within the digital domain, for example, I think rethinking of content has become even more important today. Earlier, a lot of the conversation was on the performance marketing side and ROI and, what is my campaign delivering? But I'm all CMOs. If they're not, my strong advice to them is that I think they need to relook at the content and the messaging and the narrative, which needs to be controlled. I think social from an organic point of view has become very important. Third is integration of external comms with marketing is a very, very important aspect, and that needs to be looked on by the CMO. And what I'm also realizing that what are the things that paid off? The piloting of new things ahead of its time is very important. You need to learn, you need to experiment, and that's what I'm allowing my team to do. One of the interesting things, for example, that I'm doing for them, because they tell me, say, Deepali, we want you to go to every webinar that you're getting invited to. We want to know which platform is working well, what interview style is working well, how can you shorten it. So for example, the other day I was in a webinar where the speaker used the chat extremely well for an audience size of 70 to 100. I immediately came back and shared that with my team, saying, this is how we use the chat well. We were already doing, let's say, voting and other techniques. The work that we're doing with Economic Times, we are having a security summit on 20th May. Okay. It's also going to be entertaining, because we do realize that to hold attention of people from serious subjects, it's extremely important to also provide relief. So there is very interesting work that's happening over there. There's animation. We are actually comparing security of an enterprise to how a Kalaripetu, fighter prepares. So that's a kind of interesting work that's happening. So my team, I'm thinking, is ahead of its time, and you can do that if you take care of the basics.
You talked about social and the importance of it, and also using social media effectively by the marketers themselves.
Yeah.
So we are in the age of marketing where even the brand marketing manager, the CMO, is a brand unto himself or herself.
Yes.
How does a CMO leverage his or her brand, and there is a rub-off effect on the the larger brand that he or she works with, and vice versa? What is the connection here, and how have you explored it?
Okay. So I'm very glad that you asked this question, and I will just extend it to say it's not just the CMO, I think the CEO also, right? Because one thing that has emerged during this is that people are looking for authentic voice, authentic messages, no fake news, right? And a personal brand offers that opportunity to put out your organization's message outside in a very, very authentic manner. Arvind, when he joined during the COVID period, he became our chairman. The letter that he wrote internally to IBMers is also the one that he put out on LinkedIn and Twitter. In my case, for example, I'm followed not just by a lot of industry professionals on Twitter and LinkedIn, but also by IBMers. So whatever I put out, whether it is messaging on work from home, whether it is about employee engagement, whether it is about joining Think Digital, an event where I'm looking for registrations, or whether I'm promoting, women, Mother's Day, or whether I'm promoting the upcoming security summit on my personal handles, right? I am therefore giving the reach to the brand, and I'm also lending an authentic voice, which is my voice, to the brand, and that's the rub-off effect it is having. Of course, I get kudos, and I get told that, Deepali, you're doing a great job as a CMO, and your brand is very visible thanks to you. I get a pat on the back for doing an excellent job, and people have confidence to say that, listen, if a CMO is taking care of the social personally, then she's very personally involved. But I think more importantly, this is the time when CEOs who've developed an authentic voice in the market, ahead and beforehand, are able to lend that credibility to their brands.
So now we come to our rapid fire round. So Deepali, are you ready for the rapid fire?
I think so, Deepak.
What is your experience of the lockdown?
I've had to relearn things, and I have to learn new things.
In this period, what have you discovered about yourself?
I have evolved a new technique for doing the dishes in the kitchen, and my mother loves my process orientation.
What will change after this period for you?
I think the way my team looks at content, my team looks at narrative, my team looks at consumer context, is going to be a learning that will be there lifelong with us.
Thanks so much, Deepali. We learned a great deal from you, right from the 6 feet economy to the challenges that you and your team faced and still held large virtual conferences of 3,000 plus people and understood the nuances of marketing and keeping them interested. There's a great deal packed into the show today. Thank you so much for attending and participating in ET Catalyse Virtual episode 4. Thanks so much, viewers. Watch out for the next episode. It'll be fun, much more. Thank you, everyone. Whenever you watch these series, mail us or etcatalyse@timesinternet.in. You can watch all our past episodes and future episodes on etcatalyse.com.